Now, to draw the dimples, we're going to be dipping into our Deco tool again and seeing another new feature. So let's set up a layer for the dimples. I'm just going to go right above the golf ball, click on New Layer, and I might as well go ahead and name that layer Dimples. And we're going to be using the Deco tool as a fill tool, so let's put something in the layer that we can fill. I'm just going to go over and switch to the Rectangle tool, and that should give me a pink rectangle with a black outline. And I'll just drag out a nice big rectangle over here so we can kind of try things out. Next, we're ready to switch into the Deco tool itself. And you can see that it has a default setting for vine fill, but if we pull that down, we can also get a grid fill. Now, this is great for repeating objects like our dimples. I certainly don't want to draw them all myself if I don't have to. Now, the defaults shows several different shapes, and we're all set to the default shape. We've also got properties down here at the bottom that let us control spacing. And just to see what's going to happen, I'm just going to click inside my pink rectangle here, and you can see that the program has gone in and filled in squares in a regular grid, 20 pixels apart, and enough to fill up the pink square that we dropped it into. Now, just to see what we got, let me go over to the Normal Selection tool and click on these black squares. You can see that the program has nicely put these into a group for us. And just so we can try out a couple of different features, I'm going to hit Delete, and we'll try some things again. We'll switch back to our Deco tool, and this time I'm going to turn on Tile 1, and you'll notice that we can edit the shape. When I click Edit, the program brings up my library. So if we create a movie clip that's whatever shape we want, place it in the library, we can tile that symbol instead of just a black square. Let me click Cancel here for a second. Now also notice we have patterns, and if I just do a brick pattern, we still have the default shape, and we try that out, you can see that we kind of get a little offset for each one of the rows. That's going to be pretty good for our dimples on the golf ball. The other thing that's obvious is we're going to have to make a dimple that's going to be a little bit smaller so it fits on the golf ball. So let's go and get rid of these pieces and zoom in a little bit. I'll just select that group and hit Delete or Backspace. And I want a smaller square to fill, so I'm just going to double click to grab the fill and the stroke that we made before and delete that. Next, I'll just move the playhead back to the start here. And we'll zoom in a little, but make sure to select the golf ball first. If you have something selected while you're zooming, the program will automatically center it up in the screen. So if I bounce up to 400% here, you can see the golf ball's right in the middle of my stage and ready for me to work on it. Now the first thing I want to do is I want to draw a dimple that we can duplicate with our Deco tool. Let's go back up into the dimples layer, and I'm just going to switch over to my oval tool. We'll set it up to have a light to dark, white to black gradient fill, and I'll just draw a small dimple. Now I'm going to hold Shift down, and I'm going to try to keep the dimple small so that it looks good in scale with the ball. Now I had a stroke on that one here, so let me just switch over to my Normal Selection tool, and we'll double click to select it and hit Delete to get rid of it. And there we've got an appropriate dimple. Let's select that fill, and we need to get it into the library as a movie clip symbol. So I'm going to press F8, that's my keyboard shortcut. Remember, you can always go up to the Modify menu and just choose Convert to Symbol. And we'll call this one Dimple. We've got movie clip already set, the registration in the center, that's probably pretty good. And I'll click OK. Now we actually don't need this dimple on the stage because it's over in our library over here. So let's just take that one dimple and hit Delete and get rid of it. Now we still need an area to fill, so let me just move my stage over here just a little bit. And let's go back to our normal rectangle tool. Now I'm just going to set this to pink so we can easily see it again. And I'm going to draw a square that's a little bit bigger than the golf ball. There we go. Now let's switch over to our Deco tool and let's get it set up. We've already got grid fill set up, but I'm going to change the symbol for tile number 1 to our dimple now. Now I've already got the other shapes turned off. Notice you could use this in an advanced way to actually cycle between many different symbols as you place them in the fill. Now I've got brick pattern already set up, and I'm going to stick with that one because that'll alternate our dot patterns and space them a little bit closer together. Also, the horizontal and vertical spacing was a bit big. I'm going to drop this all the way down to 1 pixel. I'll leave the pattern scale at 100%. And let's go over and click inside of our fill. Let's see what we get. Now it looks like it left off the edge here, but I've got just enough in the interior that we can make use of it. So we'll stick with this fill. And I'll move over to my selection tool. I don't really need the pink square or the outline, so I'm going to double click that and hit delete. And as we saw before, I've got a nice grouped shape that we can bring over and drop on top of our golf ball. And here's where our mask comes in. We've obviously got too many dots, but that's fine. We're just going to get rid of the ones outside of the ball shape. Now that means we need a mask layer over top of the dimple layer. So let me just hide the dimple layer for a moment, and we'll go ahead and select the golf ball itself. If I choose copy right here, I'll be copying the artwork out of the golf ball in frame 1, and I can just go up to dimples. Let's make a new layer, and we'll just call that mask. And of course, I want to paste my golf ball right into the same spot in the new mask layer. So I'm going to use paste in place. Now whatever shape is in the mask layer will mask out the dimples. So all we have to do to finish this up is to right click on our new mask layer and set it as an actual mask. Remember, that sets all of our other elements up. And when I reveal the dimple layer, we can see that all the dimples are cut off right at the edge of the golf ball. Now that looks pretty good, although the dimples are a little bit hot. We want them also to reflect the highlight and the light and shadow that we already put on the ball itself. So, just as a completion effect, let's add one more layer above the mask. And I'm going to call that layer Highlight. Now I should still have the golf ball on my clipboard, so if I just do paste in place again, we've pasted a copy of the ball right over top of all the other layers. Now let me click on that copy of the ball to bring up our properties over here. And let's go back to our color effect menu. Under style, we'll choose alpha. We'll just drop the ball back in transparency, and there you can see that we're actually mixing that gradient with the dimples, and we're kind of getting a nice effect that respects the shadows and the highlights that we had from before. So there you can see without and with, and we have a nice looking golf ball.